What's going on, guys? Boy these smalls, and I'm gonna start covering a lot of Monster Hunter World material. First thing I went through and did though was I decided to go through and make a spreadsheet to break down the weapons' inflated damage into their true raw damage. If you haven't figured it out already, the number shown in the game is basically one big lie. It's inflated by a certain amount depending on the weapon. Like the greatsword has a multiplier of 4.8. It is almost 5 times larger than what the actual raw damage is. So basically for this, like on Purgation's Atrocity, it has a damage of 1008 in the game. When you divide this by 4.2, you're going to get 210. Major difference there. It has a blue sharpness, so a blue multiplier is 1.2. It's got 150 dragon element. It shows 15 element because element has a raw multiplier of 10 flat. So 150 is actually 15. So every time you hit, you're not hitting for 150 dragon damage, you're hitting for 15 dragon damage. This is the reason why element damage favors faster weapons like the dual blades or the sword and shield. But to get the true raw, you're basically going to take the raw damage at 210 and multiply it by the sharpness at 1.2. So with a 20% boost to damage, it comes out to 252 true raw damage. Big difference there, and this still isn't the final damage number, because depending on your build, you're going to have crit, plus the weight of your swing comes into effect, so your big smashes are going to do more damage than your little flicks with dual blades. With affinity coming into play, something like the Malady's Kiss 3, it's got a true damage of 768, a raw damage of 160, a blue multiplier of 1.2, 45 element, but it's got a 20% affinity. So with the true raw coming out to 192, you're going to crit 1 out of 5 times with this weapon. And whenever you crit, your crit's 240. That's your raw crit off of the weapon. But you got other things that come into effect still, whether if the monster's weak to slashing or its resistance to the weapon, the difficulty of the quest, all this comes into play. This is just for true raw damage. But with affinity, you also, with positive affinity, you get a 1.25 multiplier to your damage. So you hit 25% harder. But some people I've seen think that the negative affinity just means you're not going to crit. In this game, that is not the case. Negative affinity has a negative effect on a weapon. Just like the Barroth Shredder 3, its true raw is 240. But since it has negative crit 1 out of 5 times, because it's a 20%, negative 20%, 1 out of 5 times you're going to only hit for 180. That's 75% of your true raw damage. So the best thing you can do for most weapons is get the affinity up if you want to use that specific weapons. And I know most of them are quite common because a lot of your builds for elementalists have negative affinity on them. Some weapons it affects, some weapons doesn't. Like the Tyrannus, the Diablos line final form or final build for the Charge Blade. On a Charge Blade, your SAED ignores crit, so you're always going to hit for a flat amount, rather if you have minus 100 crit or plus 100 crit. Crit does not affect your SAED. But for the most part, you're going to want to get your affinity up to at least 0, preferably to the positive, which is normally easily done. Most weapons have no more than minus 30 affinity, so between augmenting and weakness exploit is going to bring any negative affinity weapon up when hitting a weak point, if you have it at level 3, to the positive range. and you're probably still gonna get some boot, like with the Gnashing Flamazon. If I run weakness exploit on that, I'm bumping that negative 30 affinity up to plus 20 because it's gonna give me a 50% boost when hitting weak spots. But it's only when hitting weak spots, so be sure to work some affinity into your builds. But there'll be a link in the description to this Google spreadsheet. Everybody will have access to it. If you do find any mistakes in the numbers being ran, let me know. Numbers started running together about halfway through making the spreadsheet, and I did find some mistakes. I did fix them, so those are fixed. But there's still possibly some mistakes that I missed again. If you find them, let me know. I'll change them as quick as possible. So this is 100% accurate. Plus, if you get confused on anything, I did add some notes into some simple things like raw damage. It'll give you your multipliers that you're going to have to divide the actual damage by. Your true crit is your true raw, and your crit possibility. Your true raw is your raw damage, and your sharpness multiplied together. Affinity, this goes over what your multiplier is. Element, it tells about the 10 it being 10 times inflated, and then your sharpness goes over white, blue, and green. I only covered them three because for in-game weapons, those are the only three you're going to have to deal with except for losing sharpness. Green is only on one weapon in every line, and that's the Zora Magnaros line. But if you guys found this useful, please like, comment, and subscribe. I plan on releasing hopefully 3 to 4 videos a week covering miscellaneous stuff, including builds, some funny moments, maybe some nice fun fights. But be sure to share the link with friends if they're curious on how damage works and anybody else that needs the help. And we'll see you next time, guys.